My name is Dwayne Kimball, owner and founder of KMD 89 VA Claims Consulting, Leave No Vet Behind, and also I'm a United States Army veteran. Today I'm bringing you another educational video as it pertains to the VA disability compensation claims process. And today I'm going to be doing a short review on the PTSD DBQ review. Last Friday I did a training. It lasted about an hour and a half. Had a lot of great veterans on there. Had a lot of great questions where I actually went line by line and reviewed this particular DBQ. I was going to upload it as one of my YouTube videos, but the audio wasn't that good, so I wanted to do another video and just pick out 6 sections of this DBQ that I think that are very pertinent and can help you be successful, okay? So the first slide, as you can see, it has, I have here in red, some red stars and some other things highlighted in red as well. So the first thing that you want to remember, if you're already service-connected for PTSD or any condition, but today we're talking about PTSD. If you're having someone to complete this DBQ, it has to be done in person. You'll hear me say this throughout this particular video. It has to be done in person, okay? So after that, once you determine that, okay, it's done in person, it's going to be done in person, look at the expiration date. In the third line in the top right-hand corner, it lists the expiration date. Expiration date is May 31st, 2021. If you submit an outdated DBQ, that's one of the reasons that will make it insufficient for rating purposes, okay? So you definitely want to keep that in mind. Number 2, the last paragraph at the bottom, it states the following healthcare providers can perform review examinations for PTSD, okay? So I'm gonna leave that up for a few seconds so you can see it. I won't read off every professional that they have listed, but if you're seeing a clinical psychologist, a psychologist, a psychiatrist, those are some of the ones that can complete a review DBQ. You want to make sure you get that right, okay? All right, so like I was saying about the telemental, you can't do a telemental exam. What that means, you can't call your examiner and have them to complete a review PTSD DBQ over the phone, okay? That's important. And you can't do it by Zoom or some type of other webcam conference or anything like that, okay? So you definitely want to keep that in mind. If the reviewers at the VA feel that you did do this by telemental, they can deem the DBQ to be insufficient, okay? It's not me saying it. I'll post, actually you can go to one of my previous videos where I talk about telehealth and telemental exam, and I have the manual 21 that covers that in the description section of that video, okay? So you want to keep that in mind, because I would hate for you to take off work, make an appointment, have someone to complete it, and it's done by telemental, it's done over a conference, and then the VA deems it insufficient, and then they may schedule you at their CMP examiner or third-party contractor, okay? So definitely keep that in mind. It's not me saying it, that's a VA regulation. And you can still do it, I'm not saying that you can't, but if you submit it and they feel that it's telemental, they can make it insufficient, okay? So I don't want you to waste your time or money in doing that and get caught up and don't know why they went ahead and scheduled that particular exam for the increase in PTSD, all right? So slide number 2. Slide number 2 shows the current diagnosis. So you can see in question 2A, it says list current diagnosis. Obviously it's PTSD, okay? So one way to confirm the mental condition that you're service connected for, you want to make sure that you get a summary breakdown letter. And in that summary breakdown letter, it'll tell you the exact mental diagnosis that you're service connected for. Or you can go to ebenefits.gov and it'll list a mental condition and it'll say service connected and you'll know which one. I would see a lot of times where veterans would claim PTSD, but the VA will say, okay, it's depression. Now, I guess, how can I put this? It's not really a big deal as it pertains to the different percentages. You know, you could be service connected at 0, 30, 50, 70, or 100 for any mental diagnosis. The only difference is once you become service connected and you get a DBQ completed, that's going to depend on which DBQ. The one we're reviewing today is a review for PTSD, meaning you're service connected and you're applying for increase and you're having your private professional to complete a DBQ. Now, let's just say you claim PTSD, but the VA gave you depression. So your rating decision may read depression claimed as PTSD. Now, the criteria for all the percentages are the same, okay? But when you go in for an increase and you have your professional psychiatrist or psychologist to complete the DBQ is different, okay? All mental diagnosis other than DBQ is on a different form. The only difference is the name of the form. And if it's depression, anxiety, schizophrenia, major depressive disorder, whatever it is, it's going to be mental disorders other than PTSD. As you saw on the first slide for this one, it was review or PTSD review, meaning you're claiming an increase, okay? But all the information is pretty much the same on each form. Okay, now I'm going to show you slide number 3, okay? And slide number 3 will show differentiation of symptoms. Okay, now, only said that you had a symptom of PTSD, okay? So in question 3A, it asks, does the veteran have more than one mental mental disorder diagnosed, And here, since you're only service connected for PTSD, that's what we're talking about, says no, okay? Number 3B, question 3B, is it possible to differentiate what symptoms are attributable to each diagnosis? Not applicable because the veteran is only service connected for PTSD. Now, let's just say you did have 2 diagnoses. You're service connected for PTSD, your doctor puts PTSD, and the second diagnosis is depression, okay? But you're only service connected for the PTSD. So in this case, 3A, instead of saying no, it would be yes. Does the veteran have more than one mental disorder diagnosed? Yes. And then number 3B, it asks, is it possible to differentiate what symptoms are attributable to each diagnosis? It would be either no or yes. Now let's just say the doctor states yes, okay? So it states, if yes, list which symptoms are attributable to each diagnosis, okay? Now that's, I always would say, was a trick question because it doesn't say which symptoms on this particular DBQ. It just says symptoms. So I'm going to cover later on in one of the next slides the symptoms, okay? Slide number 5, I'm going to talk about the symptoms. So that's what it's asking. Which symptoms from the section in this DBQ are related to the primary diagnosis of PTSD, okay? So if your doctor checked yes, then in that section, they will want to put something like all symptoms noted in the symptom sections of this DBQ are related to the primary diagnosis, okay? That is key. When I used to rate, I would always have to send it back because in the systems, when the RVSR is building the rating decision, you know, if it's for an increase, then they're looking at what is certain information from this DBQ, and one of them is the symptoms. So if the doctor lists symptoms in this section that are not listed in the symptom sections of this DBQ, then you may not get the correct evaluation, okay? So it's key that you and your examiner know that if you have two different diagnoses and you only service connected for one and the symptoms can be differentiated, then they would need to say the symptoms from this DBQ are only related to the service-connected PTSD. Now, if there's two symptoms and they can't be differentiated, just say no, and the doctor can say something simple as they overlap, the symptoms overlap, and that won't be a problem, okay? So you want to keep that in mind. I always say that was one of the trick questions on the PTSD review DBQ. All right, so slide number 4. Slide number 4, it talks about, slide number 4 is going to talk about, let me bring it up. I do apologize. Okay, here we go. Slide number 4, it talks about occupational and social impairment. Now, that's in 4A, and I put it highlighted in red, and I marked total occupational and social impairment, okay? So when that box is checked along with several symptoms, okay, on the next slide I'm going to show you, then that's a possible 100% evaluation. But sometimes some raters look at other information and it could cause it to drop down to 70. But for all intents and purposes and just the educational video for today, we're just going to say, in this case, this DBQ is going to show 100% evaluation, okay? So total occupational and social impairment, if that's checked, that would represent 100. And then when you go up, the next one is occupational and social impairment with deficiencies in most areas such as work, school, family, and relations. That's a 70, and then it goes up from there, all right? So again, it's going to depend on the rating specialist that's reviewing the information to make that determination, okay? And one thing about mental, the rater has the ability to go up. Let's just say you're 50%. If they see that you warrant a 70%, they can go up. They just need to justify why they did that in the rating decision, meaning they can go up from 50% to 70% if the DBQ shows 50, but they have to justify that. Now, let's just say the system shows that the veteran should be 30% instead of 50. Okay, then they could possibly go, give the lower evaluation. But again, they have to justify themselves when they do that. Okay, so definitely you want to keep that in mind. Now, moving on to slide number 5. In slide number 5, it talks about the symptoms. Okay, so again, as I previously discussed from, I think it was, the second slide where it states, can these symptoms be differentiated? These are the symptoms that they're referring to. So the question should read, if the veteran has more than 2 diagnoses, can you differentiate the symptoms? If it says yes, then it should state from section 7, which symptoms from section 7 represent the primary service-connected PTSD. But it doesn't read that way, okay? So for you having your private professional to complete this for you, then you want to make that known to them, okay? That's very important. It could be something really minor, and it could cause you to get a lower evaluation when you actually should be granted an increase for a higher evaluation. So again, that's where you want to become educated on this, so you understand these particular forms. So if you have having one of your psychiatrists or psychologists to complete this, when they check all these boxes and they give you 2 diagnoses, you want to be educated on, okay, when asking other questions, how does it relate to the symptoms? Okay, especially when you have more than 1 mental diagnosis and you're only service connected for 1. If it's just PTSD and it's not a second diagnosis, then that's easy. It's not a problem. It's pretty much self-explanatory because you're only dealing with 1 diagnosis, okay? So you definitely want to keep that in mind. And I always tell people, these symptoms, you may not be having them now, But you could have had them over, 12 or 24-month period. They could possibly come and go. It doesn't mean you have them every day, every single day, all day, every week, 24/7 or anything like that. They could come and go. So if you sit down and you look at all the symptoms and you say, okay, which ones do I have and which ones may have affected me or I've had these symptoms over the past 12 months, okay? That's the way I look at it. Now, another rating specialist or expert rating specialist or people that are still rating, they may have a different perspective on it. But that's one of the things that I looked at was, okay, if the box is checked and say, for instance, you're looking at several progress notes and let's say you're looking at 10 progress notes and you only have 2 of those that state suicidal ideation. Then I'm still going to, and this DBQ shows suicidal ideation, I'm going to check that box in when I'm building that rating decision for the veteran, because that doesn't mean there's no regulation states you have to have suicidal ideation every minute of the hour, every hour of the day, every day of the week, every week of the month, every month of every year. Okay, that makes no sense. But you have some rating specialists that think that way. Okay, so you may have to cross that bridge when you get to it, but you want to keep that in mind. Okay, so the last slide number 6. What are we talking about? Okay, so as you can see, slide number 6, it's remarks section and then the signature block. Okay, so like I said earlier, you always want to make sure that if you're having a private professional to complete this, you want them to put, hey, this exam was done in person. Okay, so this is one way you can do it. Excuse me. This exam was conducted in person and the veteran's prognosis is poor and guarded. So there's 2 things there. One, you're letting them know that it was done in person, okay? And 2, you let them know the prognosis is poor and guarded. Now you may say, well, what is that? Why is that there? Well, I did a video talking about routine future exams and when not to schedule it. And the M21 reference is clear. When not to schedule a routine future exam is when the doctor states that the condition is permanent. Prognosis poor and guarded in the psychological world, it means it's permanent, okay? So definitely keep that in mind. And lastly, you want to make sure the doctor signs everything. So that's the last section, all right? And that's key. They need the NPI number or medical license number. That needs to be present on there. And also, it wouldn't be a bad idea if you want to go through in the comment section or wherever on this DBQ and put, it was done in person. It was done in person. You want to hammer that home. What I've been seeing the VA do is some of my clients are submitting sufficient DBQs. They were done in person. They were done by the correct medical professional, and the VA is still scheduling exams. Okay, I had a client where he did everything he was supposed to do. The DBQ was sufficient. They CNC'd him at 30%, and the rater states, well, you failed to report for an exam, for a CMP exam. Let us know when you can report, or you can submit a DBQ, and it has to be done in person. And he's like, Dwayne, I went in person. It's noted on the DBQ 3 times that it was in person, okay? So that's where the frustration is going to come in, because obviously somebody was top sheeting and they didn't pay close attention. So it wouldn't be a bad idea to every single page having, the medical professional that, the professional that's completing it state it was in person, it was in person, it was in person, it was in person. You shouldn't have to do it, but you may run into that situation where you may get that rating decision. Your service connected for PTSD at 30%. They CNC it. It should be 50, 70, or 100, and they wanted you to do an exam, but you have a DBQ sufficient for rating purposes. So, I just wanted to share that with you. Like I said, I wanted to upload the recorded training that I did last week. It was an hour and a half long, a lot of good information, but the audio wasn't that good. So I just wanted to point out 6 key factors that I thought that were very key as it pertains to the PTSD review DBQ, okay? So with that being said, please like the video, subscribe, hit that notification button so you can get notified when I upload new YouTube educational videos, and also share. Share it with your fellow veterans, because I'm pretty sure there's a lot more veterans out there that may not see this video, this video may help as it pertains to their service-connected PTSD and getting the DBQ completed. So again, please like, subscribe, hit that notification button, share. Thank you for your service. Thank you for watching this video. I'm going to provide some information of other educational training that I do throughout the month on different topics down in the description section. So please check that out. And also, I'm going to leave a website in the description section where you can also find a link to those to sign up for one of those educational training events as well. So continue to be safe. Thank you for your service. Hope to see you in one of my next educational training. And if not, I'll see you in the next educational video. Take care.